We all have insecurities, but for most people, those insecurities and self doubts are enough to stop them before they even start. They spend months, sometimes years, just overanalyzing the right strategy and waiting for the right circumstances. But the truth is, nothing changes unless you focus on what's within your control right now and take action consistently over and over again. Our guest today, Janice Tee, understood exactly this. Janice is a business coach and social media strategist, and when she started her business, she did not waste time worrying about what she did not know, but instead she focused on what she could do, showing up, being consistent, and trusting that confidence follows action, not the other way around, right? Yes, fear was there, judgment was there, but she refused to let those take the lead. So on this episode of Edit History, Janice and I dive into what it really takes to overcome self-doubt, but not by eliminating it, but rather by refusing to let it hold you back. Because honestly, the people who build successful careers as entrepreneurs or creators are not the ones without the fear, they're the ones who take the first step anyways. Janice, you started your business 5 years ago. I'm so nosy. When you look back at the Janice from 2020, what was her biggest insecurities as an entrepreneur?
So the answer may shock people, but I honestly don't think I had that much insecurities, which is very ironic. And that's something that I discovered to be a little bit paradoxical along the entrepreneurship journey as well, which is that for me personally, I feel like I felt no fear when I first started because I think you're just at the stage of like there's so much passion, there's so much excitement as to what I want to build that I think it just took over everything else. Like I was more excited and passionate at seeing what I could create. And also because I had already developed, I think, at that point, a mindset where I didn't really care if people think I failed. I didn't really care if I think I failed. So there wasn't really anything to be insecure about. And I think that's something that like looking back, I always look at myself quite fondly for. I think that element of like the audacity and how delusional I was, just like not knowing that it's so saturated, not knowing anything. I think that kind of delusion or excitement, but also matched with taking action consistently and quickly, like turning an idea into something in real life is something that I still stand by. And I think that has also enabled me to really move fast in my business and also move consistently as well.
Were there any particular judgments or opinions from others that you were worried about? Or if not, if it's not so much like something that held you back, then like what were judgments you may have received from people around you?
Oh, this I actually remember. So I think judgment will come. Like if you put yourself out there, someone will always have something to say. Some people think you're amazing and inspirational. Some people think you're just attention seeking and like a loser. So I think if you choose to put yourself out there as a business owner or as anyone really, you open yourself up for judgment and you have to be prepared for that. Um, in my first, I think it was in the first 6 months of my business, because there weren't as many female coaches in Asia, and I'm based in Singapore. So there really weren't that many female coaches, at least that were actively marketing themselves online or building a personal brand online. So because I was so consistent, I think I really just like put myself out there and became seen in Singapore as one of the new and upcoming like female coaches just because I was putting myself out there so much. And I think people just weren't used to the style of how I wanted to carry my business. So one of the judgments that I recall early on was, why do you show your face so much when you're selling a business thing, right? Then like, why do you have to take so many selfies? Why are you on stories talking all the time? And I think that was like a feedback that I got, but I think I never really let it affect me. And like, I think in fact, I did a Q&A, even though it was the first 6 months of my business. And this is why I look back on those days so fondly, because I just think, wow, where did she even get the courage from? Like she must really have self-trust, self-belief, and like just innate confidence in her as a human being rather than like, oh, I'm 6 months into this industry. So I think not being defined by your work or results definitely helps. I think I even responded to one of the comments just saying, This is how I want to run my business. I believe that the future of business is personal. Like you're going to want a personal touch point. People are not going to want boring slides. People don't want like professional people in suits. And I just shared that that's how I saw the future of business online and the digital economy going. And like I think over the years from 2020 and it's 2025 now, I think that has really proven to be true. And a lot of large businesses now, the creators are building their personal brand. So a lot of businesses start out as traditional businesses and their founders are now coming out, right, to do personal branding. Even Elon is so much more on social media now than he was like 10 years ago, but he was already building a business 10 years ago, you know? So I think that really paid off in terms of having a gut feeling about something, being consistent, and really starting to build that body of work and what you are known for as a brand, as a thought leader, as a business leader, because I think often too many people just copy what already works. And I think that that is value in success modeling. But something that I believe from day one is always innovating in business and always doing it your own way so that you have something really distinct. Like when people see that, they know, okay, it's Janice, you know? And there are certain things that they will see and they'll be like, that's not Janice at all. And that's when you know you have built a brand that is recognized, that people know you for. They know what you're about super clearly, and they also know what you're not about super clearly. And I think that really pays ROI back into your business as well.
When it comes to like something that's super distinct and Janice, like when you think back at like
Mm.
um 2020, 2021 versus like 2025, like your the brand that you're showcasing, like do you feel like you're known for different things, or do you feel like it's like you've been building the same, like around the same message or philosophy, but it's getting stronger and stronger?
I see it as the topic mastery, the level of depth I go to, and obviously the scale of the business has significantly grown in both depth and also obviously financially and all of that stuff. But I think the core of who I am and my philosophy is really the same, which is show up consistently. Don't think too much about it. Like turn your, I think my first signature program was called Idea to Execution because I really believe in like just taking action and then testing and failing. And like that's actually how you move forward, right? So I think being consistent, taking action, and then just staying focused on your lane and not getting distracted by what other people are doing or like shiny objects or like all these different business models, and really mastering my core business offer, which is working with clients to scale and grow their business, leveraging social media tools that we have today. I think that eventually built up over the years and became something that I was really known for. And obviously, along the way, when you produce results both for yourself and for your clients, it makes you really become established as a thought leader and authority in the space. It definitely helped me get more referrals. It definitely helped me get more repeat clients, and obviously allowed me to raise my prices along the way. As well. So I would say staying to the fundamentals is something that I think entrepreneurs get really distracted by. And I think it's a fine line between building on one core product service offer versus experimenting and testing new things. But that could also be distraction if you are not careful about it. And I think looking at, you know, the really successful entrepreneurs in the digital education space, they always go back to this one line, which is to get to $1 million, you just need one channel, meaning one acquisition channel, whether it's YouTube, whether it's, you know, Instagram, whether it's LinkedIn, whatever, and one core product. Like you can scale to $1 million with that. So if an entrepreneur is under $1 million in business right now, I feel like the best thing to do is really focus. And from what I've seen from clients and other peers, industry peers, fellow coaches, consulting companies, those that really have managed to achieve success and longevity and a good branding reputation are those that focus on one area and keep doing it, although it can sometimes be boring, right? Like to do the same thing again. But I think that level of dedication is required if you really want to master something.
You know, as someone who has known you for 4, maybe 5 years now, I feel like I can attest to that. I feel like you've been very consistent with the message that you're really standing behind. And if anything, I feel like you're someone who actually refines it consistently. Like you're constantly refining it, and it's like elevating like every single year, or like every iteration it gets like even more like more well done and well spoken and well thought out. That said, so I feel like, when we look at past Janice, it's like, yes, like we have a lot that we could learn from her. And it sounds like you have a lot of like core principles that you were already really abiding by since day one that really served you very well. But I'm sure there has to be some things that you look back and you're like, like that was good, but like I would do it differently or better today. So I think this will be a really good point for us to take a look at our chosen piece of content for this
Yeah,
episode.
sure.
So, okay, so for the listener, we are going to share the Instagram post on the video, but we're also going to invite Janice to walk us through this carousel post as well. So Janice, please take it away.
Okay, so the post that Cheryl and I chose for today was definitely in the first year of my business. So imagine like I had absolutely nothing, and then that in that first year is when I created this. So the title of the post is How to Become Recognized as an Expert in Your Industry. So there were 5 points, and I have a little like visual representation here, but I'll read it out loud for those of you who are listening to the podcast. So, how to become an expert in your industry. Number 1, teach what you know. Number 2, get experience. Number 3, get results. Number 4, collect and share social proof. And number 5, continuously learn and level up. And then in the subsequent slides, I basically go on to explain what I mean by each of these points.
Do you think there's anything you would do differently about this post today? Like maybe the way it's laid out, the examples that you use, like is there anything you would choose to do differently if you were to redo or repeat this post today?
I'm just laughing because when I started my business, and it's still a value that I hold today, but when I started my business, I really, I can't remember which month this was, and I was able to achieve like a 5-figure income in my business in the second month onwards. But so this was still very early on. And one thing that made me laugh as I'm looking at this post now is if you scroll all the way to the end, you'll realize like I'm just like, how to become an expert in your industry, A, B, C, D, E. And then like there's no call to action at the end of it. So I think I was just focused on giving so much value to my audience, showing up for my audience, talking to the audience, like literally for the first full year and almost for 2 years straight. I think I only missed 1 day in 2 years. I showed up on stories every single day. I showed up on stories every single day to talk about something related to the work I'm doing. Either I'm talking about organic marketing, I'm talking about content and messaging, I'm talking about sales and conversion, I'm talking about establishing your niche, or I'm talking about offer building and offer stacking. And I think because I gave so much value to the audience, and over time, even over like 12 months, they could see me making more money, signing more clients, growing in my business, and like basically walking the talk of what I said. And I think that's something that it's proof on its own, because when you're able to see someone's growth journey, they don't have to sell themselves to you. You can see that they practice what they preach. And I think that makes you want to be part of their world. So I think that was something that worked really well for me. But obviously, from a business standpoint, it's not very smart not to have a welcome sign on your door if you have a cookie store, right? So I mean, like those little nuances, I think also aesthetically, my style has gotten more and more close to my personal style in real life. It used to be more colorful because I used to see this business as a tech company. Now I see this more as a consulting company that reflects the core values of who I am as a person. And the business also reflects those core values, like speed to execution, consistency, being top of mind, and building authority. I think all of those things are things that I believe as an individual and that I bring into my business as the CEO and founder of the business, and that I bring into my work as well. So a business is basically the reflection of the owner of the business, I think.
Okay, so sounds like right now the two main things that you would improve on is really the making sure there's a call to action and really showcasing like, hey, like this is yes, like these are very
Mm.
valuable points and
Yeah.
the audience should take it into consideration and think about how to apply it, but also letting them know like, hey, like if you want to take this further, like I can
Mm.
help you. And number two is maybe the aesthetic component of this
Mm.
visual post. It will be much more in line with your current day style. So if you were to like look back at this particular carousel post on IG, how would you elevate this post in terms of curiosity and credibility? What
Oh,
would you do?
like immediately looking at it, I would definitely want to add some form of like me in the slide. Like there's no Janice in this at all. It's just pure information. So there's no,
Mm.
it's good information, it's useful information, but like apart from me putting my handle there at Janice.T, there is nothing that really shows who I am that gives off my vibe. So I think that's number one. Um, in terms of the content, obviously I would like probably have different views based on the 2025 market, like add a few contextually relevant examples. So when you're teaching like core business principles, they all stand, but you have to make it relevant for the times. Like reels didn't exist, I think in 2020. So, which is wild. But then obviously today, if I were to recreate it, I would be like, what does the platform favor and really want to push forward? So I think it's important to also understand the tools and platforms and what their goals are and work with the tools and not against it as well. So I think those two things would be the most immediate things just off the top of my head as well.
Okay, okay. So it sounds like, you know, there's for sure a lot that we could have learned from past Janice and past Janice's like content. That said, is there anything that you feel like over the years you've started to do or implement or do differently that have really taken your business or your personal growth to the next level?
I think knowing how to, I think one of the things is knowing how to work with the platform. So I think some people and a lot of people, um, I speak for myself as well because I don't often act as fast as I think I should. But I think working with the platform really comes from understanding the climate. Like there are cycles in everything, the stock market, the property market, and also for tech. When platforms evolve, they prioritize different things. Like organic reach on Instagram used to be like definitely way better in 2018 to 2020, even compared to now, just 5 years later, right? So I think learning to work with the style of the platform and not being resistant to change, like, okay, maybe when Reels first came out, it's like I'm not a really dancey type of person at all, actually. Completely not a dancey type of person. But then I would think like, okay, then how can I use Reels in a way that's authentic and natural and powerful for me? Because this is what the environment is favoring and this is what's going to give me more visibility. It's like the platform is providing you the guidelines to how to optimize your business in this environment, right? So if we're just resistant to it and we're like, okay, I'm much more of a text person, I'm not going to do that, then it's very difficult for your business to grow because a business exists in a broader environment as well. And this environment happens to be digital. So it just means that it's constantly changing. And I think being open minded about understanding the platform and the changes and then pivoting accordingly or making adjustments accordingly, I think that's something that is really, really important. I think the second thing, though, that is really important, and this is like the money maker for me, that has like really just created multiple 5 figures, 6 figures in a year, like just by this one thing alone, not even talking about my core marketing, is being able to really double down and articulate what your zone of genius is, not just online, but when you meet people offline, being so sure and convicted in your work and walking the talk, refining your work, getting results for yourself consistently and for your clients consistently, allows you the level of confidence and conviction to present yourself in the best way, which shows that you have that authority. And when you are able to sit with yourself and not be afraid of like what other people think you should do or how you should conduct your business, you're able to also introduce yourself at a networking event, at a keynote speaking event, and obviously online as well, in a way that just captivates people. Like there's something about you that people just want to find out more. And you are someone who, when you walk into the room, you command authority and you command presence. I think that level of certainty and conviction can only come not just internally, but from you proving to yourself that you walk the talk, from you proving to yourself that you can trust yourself, from you proving to yourself that you can respect yourself. Um, and having that level of confidence allows you to then project it externally when whatever situation you're in. And I think that really is something that is lacking, because in the digital age now, it's so easy to just be like, I'm a millionaire. It's so easy to rent a Ferrari, take a picture and be like, oh, look, I'm just like chilling with my Ferrari. But you rented it for a day, or like whatever all these gimmicks are. But when this person actually walks in real life, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the skills, they don't have the capability, and they don't have the conviction in themselves. They can't look you in the eye to introduce themselves and represent their business that way. So I feel like this second point is actually the most important thing. And when you're able to do that, you really, and I've experienced this and my clients have experienced this, have people coming up to you virtually or in person asking like, what do you do? Can I find out more about what do you do?
Yeah, I really, really love that point about like you need to have such conviction and confidence in the delivery of your work, because that is what, like, people can feel it, but also people can see the work itself,
Yeah.
and and then you have something to show for. What does this current season for you look like right now? Like, what are you excited by right now? Like, what are you building? Like what are you looking forward to in this current season of your journey?
I think the one thing that has consistently given me like a lot of like deep inner satisfaction, it's really seeing people with dreams win. Like, and I don't mean just like win in business or like, okay, you created something that can replace your 9 to 5, which is in and of itself, it's great. But I think when I have clients who are like, for example, women entrepreneurs who left their 9 to 5, or some of them like voluntarily, some of them involuntarily, but when I see them grow their business and like be able to create the time to, for example, like send their kids to school every morning, which is apparently like, I don't have kids of my own. We have fur babies, as you know, but it's like that's the real difference creating a business that is aligned to you can make, because you don't lose your entire identity as a mom. You can still be there for your personal life and your work life is thriving. So I think that identity and how proud you are of yourself, how much you respect yourself as a person, and for me, I speak for myself as a woman, I think that's something that really can't be bought, because when you're able to work really hard for something and achieve something and create that something, I think we feel so much satisfaction in that as a side result, money comes flowing in. But that's not even the main point. The main point is who you become, and the conviction level, the respect level, and the level of admiration and love that you have for yourself. It really is, I feel, to me, that's what's life changing for me. And obviously the financial aspects allows you to then show up for yourself and your loved ones and the people who matter to you in all these different ways, right? Because a lot of things that we want to do does cost money as well. So I think when I'm able to see that, I feel like this is my little piece of planet Earth where I'm contributing my part to changing lives, and I know it sounds really dramatic because I'm not like a neurosurgeon or anything or a firefighter, but I feel like as my version of showing people that by example, anything you can dream of, you can actually create in your reality. And I consistently try to do that for myself, whether it's, you know, arbitrary things like hitting like whatever number in my business, whether it's flying to 12 countries in a year while working full time in my business with a pet, like how do you navigate all of that? It's only impossible if you say it can't be done. Instead, I always ask myself, how can it be done? And I really believe that we are capable of so much more, that if we have a dream, it's there for a reason. That nagging feeling that you're supposed to be doing something in this world is there for a reason. And like, it would be a disservice to yourself and the world to give up on those dreams. Like, you are meant for an amazing life. I like fundamentally believe that, but you have to work for it as well. And like, work your ass off for it. Pardon my French. But that's what I tell my clients as well. And I think like that really, really gives me satisfaction when I see someone going so hard and like having courage and then failing, and then like together with my clients, us working on that big dream. And we will fail like along the way. That's just the nature of the game, right? But then when they finally see the wins, and like more importantly the person they become, like I'm getting goosebumps now, because I feel like being an entrepreneur really changed my life, and the work that I do, I feel like it fundamentally can change someone's life. And I think that's why I have so much conviction, and I have zero qualms about like selling and showing up and talking about the work that I do, because to me like it's the best thing ever if you can create something that you feel so strongly about, that you have that nagging feeling, and then that we strategize and take action. And obviously with my clients I work through all the monetization aspect, the offers, the marketing, the sales, but and to see like tangible results, which is also something that's really important, is that it actually is a business and not just a hobby, which is when it makes money. um but yeah, I just really believe that anything is possible. So I consistently chase that. And I think when I help or am able to be part of someone's journey in doing that, that to me is like the best feeling ever. Like my life is complete, and I get so much joy and satisfaction from seeing that. I mean,
And
and
I think
obviously, like, I can now take care of another cat, which is like my second fur baby. I have my own home. Like, I managed to buy two houses as a result of this. Like, all these impossible things. Life is really like magic sometimes when I look back. Like I never ever thought any of these things would happen. And being able to see my clients also hit like certain milestones, whether it's getting married, whether it's like finally moving abroad and saving enough to do that, like whatever it is, to me, it's like you have a vision board and you're literally living in your vision board. I made a post about this yesterday. Um, and I think that's just the best, because it's like the opposite of what I fear the most, which is just like you're simply existing in this world. But no, you're living, you're breathing, you're creating, you're working hard. Like that's what life should be about to me, you know?
this is going to be super anticlimactic to the amazingness you just shared, but like go with me here. So how did you make all of this happen? Like, I think we know that okay, Janice for sure took action. Like, I think that's a given. But people are like, but how? Like, I think
Yeah.
I think you touched on some of those elements, like having conviction behind what you are selling and how you help people. That's number one. But I think what I'm also curious about is how did your body of work help you or facilitate this journey and creating these results that you've created for yourself, for clients, like how the content and body of work play a role in your own results.
Um, I think everything, like, because, you know, for example, like, I always wanted to, for various reasons, because I grew up in so many countries, I always wanted to have a home of my own because I never really felt stable, right? As a kid, like, I was just flying everywhere, which is also a privilege and a wonderful adventure, but I just always knew, like, when I grew up, I wanted to own my own home. And I didn't know by when. I thought it would be in my 30s, but I managed to do two in my 20s. And obviously, this is something that required me to be really clear on my goals first. Like example, like to break it down, like first I knew I wanted a home, but I don't know where. And obviously I have a limited budget, right? So like how much money do I need to make to, for example, do a down payment and have enough for my emergency fund? So I think um on a personal level, I was always very clear of what I wanted to achieve in my business work wise, both in terms of impact, in terms of thought leadership, as well as financially. And but money means nothing if you're not going to do anything about it. Like if you die with 10 million cash in your bank, it's useless. Like what have you done with it? Nothing, right? And you never got to live your life. You never used money to enrich your life, which is a whole other topic on its own. But I think just being very clear about my financial goals, and then what I actually wanted to do with that money to enrich my life and the lives of people around me in my personal life, I think that's really important as well. So I think apart from having a business vision, my business vision is actually just part of like a fraction of my personal life vision for myself, right? So I think a lot of the times if you make your business your whole life, you end up burnt out and very anxious, and like when even when you get a client and you have money, like you still don't feel great, because like what does that even mean, right? What's the meaning of building your business for you? What's the meaning of making that income for you? Like if you don't attach meaning to it, like it will be an endless cycle and very, very unfulfilling if you just chase money. So I think being very clear about my personal goals and the type of life that I want to create, then I reverse engineer and think about like, okay, well, then what are the resources that I need to create? Like resources could be information, knowledge, like how much would something cost? Where should I buy it? Then also capital, right? Which is like the money and financial aspect of it, allows you to then slowly take a step towards your goal. And like I said, there's no fixed timeline of when you should hit certain things. But if it's a goal that you created for yourself, even if you spent the rest of your life doing it, it would be worth it. Because what else would you do with your life apart from spend your time, energy, and resources on creating the one dream life that you can have? And there's one life that you have. I mean, spirituality and all of that aside, like if I only have one life and I'm thinking, what should I spend my time and money and resources on? It would be to get as close to that ideal version of it as I can and have fun doing it along the way.
I feel like at this point in the conversation, I just can't help but like give a lot of credit to past Janice for setting you up for delusion, audacity, curiosity. Like I can't help but just think back at like the version of you back in 2020 who has now set you up for being a and paving that runway for you to really like run and like fly today. And so when you think back at 2020 Janice, like what do you think the listeners can really learn from the version of you in the earlier stages of your business? What do you think are qualities or characteristics that really shaped you into who you are today?
I think focus and hard work, honestly. Like focused hard work consistently is like the number one thing that got me through, at least from 2020 version of who I was to like the 2025 version of me now in early 2025. I think a lot of people just severely underestimate the amount of work, the amount of dedication, the amount of focus. And this is the amount of work that you have to put into yourself internally, emotionally, managing the ups and downs, like mentally, and then the actual work of like business building work, right? I think people just grossly underestimate what it actually takes, for example, to create $250,000 in your business, to create $500,000 in your business, to create $1 million in your business. It's not impossible. But the thing is, you can't say you want those things if you are not willing to pay the price for it. And that's what I always told myself. Like there is a price to pay for it. If you really want it, pay, like put in the reps, pay the dues, because there is a price for everything. There's also a price for taking things slow. There's a price for inaction, which is that by the time you get there, the whole world might change. By the time you finish executing on this idea and you finish thinking about this idea 3 months later or 3 years later, that idea could no longer be relevant to the market and you wouldn't have tested it. You wouldn't have known what to pivot in. So I think there's a cost to everything. And I think if there's one thing that I really admire about past Janice that I still do to this day, it's really the hard work and like willpower to do difficult things consistently. And that's something that I think I hold really dear to my heart and something that I try to incorporate in my life to this day. But yeah, I think also like now looking back, I'm able to say things to my past self that I wouldn't have had the foresight to have seen when I was in that situation, which is that, success is inevitable for you. Like, I thought that then, but like when I thought that then, it was just a belief backed on like my self-trust, right? But now when I say it, like success is inevitable for you, I mean like literally starting up this free Instagram account on this free platform, literally bought you a freaking house. Like success is inevitable for you if you are willing to do what it takes. And therefore, like I think with that today, I have so much more confidence, more self-respect that comes from more proof from me to me that I'm capable of doing difficult things consistently over years, right? That I can face a lot of setbacks, but that I have also proven that I'm someone who doesn't give up despite those setbacks. And I think now when I look at like my big crazy goals of like 5 more years or like 10 more years, what are some things I want to achieve? I don't view them as daunting anymore. I view them more like as exciting. Like I get to go on this mission to see if I can do it or not. And even if I don't hit some of these things, like pretty amazing things that I could never have imagined will happen because they have happened over the past 5 years. And I think that's something that gives me so much comfort and also excitement in being able to really go all out for what I want to go for with a sense of like adventure and excitement, and also still a lot of hard work, still a lot of challenges, but with a sense of excitement rather than fear, which is two sides of the same coin, right? But then your perspective shapes everything about how you act and how you show up as well.
What I'm really taking away from this conversation is that I think if I had to just choose one word to describe the takeaway for me, it might be self-trust. I think that that's the word that really encaptures what I'm taking away from our conversation today. Because without the self-trust, Janice wouldn't have started. And you wouldn't have continued. You wouldn't have continued putting in those reps. You wouldn't have continued to work hard. It really all stems back from the self-trust that you had to have had from within in order to continue selling, to continue helping your clients and selling work that is based on your zone of genius, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's really the biggest takeaway that I would love our listeners to really embody for themselves. Because when we start our businesses, when we start our creative pursuits, we don't have the perfect circumstances. More often than not, there is a lot of doubts, a lot of fears, a lot of practical obstacles, a lot of maybe lack of resources. But because of self-trust, that's what keeps you going. So you figure it out and find the solutions. So that's the message I really hope our listeners today will walk away with. So thank you, Janice, for gracing us with your time and your sharings today. Where can people find you and how can people work with you?
I'm most active on Instagram and LinkedIn. So on Instagram, my handle is at Janice Tee, JNICE.TEE. On LinkedIn, I think you can just Google my name and then it will come up. How people can work with me is to first check my workout, make sure that the vibe is aligned and the work ethic is aligned. But you can always drop me a message on either platform if you have specific questions about how to grow your business, how to really rebuild that passion and excitement if you are in a place where your business is going well, but you're just a little bit stuck, or you want more visibility, or you want to attract a different caliber of clients, or you know that you're producing great work, but you also know that you're not putting yourself out there as you should, and you're really holding yourself back. If you have a specific question, drop me a question in my DMs. I'll be more than happy to see how I can add value to you.
Wonderful. Again, Janice, thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you very, very soon. The truth is that moving forward, any opportunity, goal, or dream that you really want, it's going to be outside of what you've done before. And that means that these opportunities will stretch you beyond your comfort zone. It also means that you might experience doubt, questioning whether you're really capable of taking on these challenges. But here's the thing, that doubt, it's honestly part of the growth, because if you're not in situations that stretch you, then you're not growing, right? And if anything, this discomfort is proof that you are evolving. And there's so much value in being someone who is a work in progress but still shows up anyways, right? So if you are presented with an opportunity that really excites you, but you're also feeling like, oh, I don't think I'm qualified for this, please at least give yourself a fighting chance before saying no, right? At the very least, explore what it could look like if you did say yes. Don't just shut it down immediately based on your self-doubts or fears, but instead go gather more information, assess the possibilities, and then make an informed decision, not just an emotional one. And I know that there will be times when the self-doubt feels so overwhelming, but the only way through is to keep moving, right? And and taking action isn't just about building more skills or knowledge, but it's also about how you're building self-confidence and self-trust. Because you really don't need to wait until you feel ready to start. You can feel anxious and unsure, but still take that next step, right? So remember this, progress happens when you're actually taking action, not through passive overthinking. And the next time when the fear and uncertainty is creeping in, please remember that you do have a choice here, right? Do you let those feelings dictate your decisions? Or do you keep showing up anyways despite them? Because I know it's so easy to let those temporary emotions push you towards comfort, right? And just say like, oh, I should just back out now because stepping away feels easier and safer. But actual growth, it's going to require to be committed to the bigger vision that you've set for yourself, even when it feels uncomfortable. This is not the time to let your self-doubt dictate your path. And I know that so many of us just hesitate to try new things because we don't want to embarrass ourselves. We don't want to compare ourselves to others and feel like we're behind. But it's really important to be willing to be mediocre or even below mediocre, especially when we're doing something new, right? That is such a respectable thing to do. It takes courage to be back at square one, especially now that we're adults, right? And I really think that most reasonable human beings actually admire others who put themselves out there and try. Honestly, no one is judging you as harshly as you think. And if anything, people around you are actually secretly cheering you on. And of course, the reality is that yes, like all of us still have areas to improve on. Like that is inevitable. And every single one of those areas is going to require us to step out of our comfort zones because growth by definition is uncomfortable. So that's why it's really important to remember that the moments when you feel the most stretched are often the moments that will lead to your biggest breakthroughs, right? Think about it. When you're in an environment where it's easy to succeed, right? You already feel like a top performer. It's really easy to coast. But when you place yourself in a room where you are the small fish and now you're forced to put in the work, you can't just coast at this point. You can't just rely on what you're already good at, but you actually have to learn and do better and be better, right? And maybe that looks like asking the basic questions. Maybe it looks like struggling through the awkward, messy middle or feeling like you don't have it all together. But isn't that the sign of real learning, right? So, if you want to attract bigger opportunities, grow your skill set, and start just exuding more certainty and confidence in who you are and what you do, ask yourself this. Am I avoiding the necessary work, or am I stepping into what's required for my growth? And for me personally, there are two questions that I often ask myself. Number one, am I currently the version of myself who would attract the opportunities that I really want? And number two, am I thinking big enough? Am I sharing a vision so compelling, not just for myself, but for others as well, so much so that they want to be a part of it too? Because at the end of the day, if I want to create more opportunities, possibilities, and impact, then I have to go first. I have to do the work to become the person positioned to welcome in these opportunities. And so do you. Sounds good? Awesome. Let's get to work. One more thing. If you thoroughly enjoyed this episode and are eager to continue the work, I would love to recommend you to grab the Podcast Content Audit. This is a resource I've crafted to help you audit 9 different parts of your podcast content strategy and identify the specific areas that you can improve on right away to start setting your podcast apart from the rest. The Podcast Content Audit follows our signature framework to building a differentiated and timeless body of work by number 1, becoming known for your thought leadership, number 2, creating immense value for your audience, and number 3, developing your signature voice. You can get the Podcast Content Audit at CherylLau.com/audit. Again, the link is CherylLau.com/audit. Sounds good? Awesome. Let's get to work.